The Supreme Court has agreed to delay the end of Title 42 border restrictions at the request of Republican-led states, just days before it was set to expire. The pandemic-era policy allows the government to expel some migrants who arrived at the border with Mexico. In the meantime, the Democratic mayor of El Paso, Texas, declared a state of emergency over the weekend as the city struggles to handle an influx of migrants. Nearly 2,500 people have been crossing into El Paso each day. Omar Villafranca is there.
This is what a state of emergency looks like in El Paso.
Have you ever seen it like this?
No.
John Martin estimates that 80% of the people at this homeless shelter are migrants. Capacity is 120, but when temperatures dipped below freezing last night, more than 230 people packed the rooms and hallways.
We're simply running out of food. The community has come to our rescue in some cases, but we needed to be more consistent.
Venezuelan migrants Milieni and her 2-year-old son Mila have slept on the floor for the past 3 nights.
She wants to work in the U.S. and help her son, who's 2 years old.
And it's not just shelters. Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez took this video at a Border Patrol processing facility.
This is the reality. This is the facts. We're not even at the worst of it yet.
Chief Justice Roberts today put a temporary hold on the termination of Title 42, a Trump-era policy that immediately expels migrants due to public health concerns. It was set to expire Wednesday, and there are fears the number of migrants attempting to cross could double or even triple. The Biden administration's plan to handle this influx involves more resources to process the migrants faster. More buses to move them to cities like Denver and New York, and making requesting asylum more difficult.
We can't control who comes and the number that comes, but all we could do is try our best.
As of now, Title 42 is the policy and will remain in effect until the full Supreme Court says otherwise. A response by the White House is due by 5 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. John?
Omar Villafranca, thank you. And joining me now is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez from El Paso, Texas. Camilo, where does the battle now stand on Title 42 now that the Supreme Court has ruled?
Hi, John. Good evening. An intensifying political and legal battle over the future of U.S. asylum and immigration policy is playing out here along the U.S.-Mexico border. 19 Republican-controlled states filed an emergency request with the U.S. Supreme Court earlier today, asking the High Court to delay the termination of the Title 42 border restrictions, which were set to end tomorrow at midnight because of a lower court ruling. And just a few hours after that request, John, Chief Justice John Roberts agreed to put a temporary pause on the termination of this policy, which now will not end unless the Supreme Court says otherwise. So for now, John, U.S. border officials still have the power to quickly expel some migrants to Mexico or to their home country on public health grounds under this Title 42 policy. And this measure, which was enacted under the Trump administration at the outset of the pandemic, could very well be in place come next year.
So, Camilo, what have the shockwaves been, if at all, where you are to that ruling, and how might it affect what's going on there day to day?
Well, we are near the Texas border city of El Paso, John, which has seen a sharp increase in migrant arrivals over the past few days. In recent weeks, some of the officials here have recorded an average of 2,500 migrant arrivals per day. That is a huge number, John, that has overwhelmed the local shelter capacity, and that over the weekend forced the Democratic mayor to declare a state of emergency, citing the hundreds of migrants who were stranded on the city's streets, braving the cold. The temperatures are dropping significantly here, John, and that is a major concern for the Biden administration. The fact that many border communities like El Paso may not have sufficient shelter space, rather, to house and accommodate these migrants, although many of them move on to other destinations in the U.S. like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other major metro areas. These migrants have to be housed and sheltered here until they can secure that transportation. So that is a major concern, John.
One of the things Omar mentioned in his report was that there are plans to bring in more resources, more buses, making asylum more difficult. What's your assessment of whether that'll be enough with this current influx and just in general, as the system is so overloaded, as you've reported before?
Sure. So the Department of Homeland Security, John, has said that it is preparing to lift this policy by surging resources and personnel here to the U.S.-Mexico border, by enhancing its collaboration with the groups that assist migrants, by cracking down on human smugglers, and by expanding the capacity it has to detain migrants. Because once Title 42 is ended, the U.S. will need to process additional migrants who were before being expelled to Mexico and may need to screen them for asylum if they say they're fleeing persecution. So that is going to be a major challenge for the Biden administration, John.
Okay, Camilo Montoya-Galvez in El Paso, Texas for us. Thank you.